What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got the battery just came in, baby. Excess power. Let me show you what came in. Oh yeah, guys, this has been one of my favorite batteries to run in these resto mods, you guys. I absolutely love this thing. Never had any issues, and it just came in from Excess Power. They have a great battery line. You guys have never had any problems with this thing. But another little mod we do, I don't know if you guys remember on the last build, we do a nice little circuit breaker that kind of ties in the power for the entire car. And with one switch, it deactivates the entire battery system. Let me show you. Oh yeah, there it is right there, you guys. Obviously, we use this battery breaker from Stinger. But the trick is this bad boy right here. I designed this guy a while back. We wanted something to mount that battery breaker without having to put it on the fender. And we came up with this bad boy. This guy just kind of sits on the battery. There's a small groove. You see that little bracket slash little kind of really like a little slot that the battery has. And we designed it perfectly for that guy to sit there. And then we'll bolt our battery breaker on that guy there. But we do got to put some nut inserts in this guy here. This is a 3D printed part. I've had a few guys ask me about them. I will sell you guys one if you guys are interested. If you guys want just the actual bracket, we can do that. Or I can hook you up with the complete kit with this actual breaker as well, you guys. But let me open this thing up. If I don't think I can do it with one hand. Can I? Maybe. That guy right there. So let me open this thing up, and then we'll put our nut inserts into that plastic 3D printed part. And then this guy will just live on the top of this guy. Yeah, that guy like that, something like this. Just like that. What do you guys think? Yeah, let me put these nut inserts real quick, and then we'll put it on the battery, and then we can probably install our battery in the car since we got all the wiring done up front. We got our nut inserts right here. All we're going to do is use a little bit of heat and then apply these guys into that. We're going to heat this thing up with a heat gun. Shouldn't need too much heat, but we are going to leave the bolt in there. That way none of the actual material goes into or where our threads are going to be at, and doesn't allow the bolt to actually thread in. Looks like it wants more heat, you guys. We're gonna bring out the torch then, huh? Say hello to my little friend. All right, we got those in. Definitely had a little too much heat on that one. You guys can kind of see there, a little too much heat, but it should work just fine. The other one looks really good. But we got a problem, boys. This guy here has got it's a defective part. Really looks like it's a manufacturing issue. And what I mean by that, you see, you got your power coming in, and then you got your power coming out. Or do you? You see the problem there, you guys? It looks like they screwed up when they assembled this thing. It almost looks like I can see the opening on this side, but it almost looks like they put two lefts on this, not a left and a right. So that guy doesn't have anywhere to us to actually put our cable in. So we're gonna have to send this one back, get another one. That sucks. But we can still mock it up. We can still kind of get it in position and kind of get an idea. But you can see kind of how it's gonna live, something like that. Let me put the screws in so I can show you guys on the battery. Should we use a little YouTube magic? Let's do it, baby. Oh yeah, look at that bad boy right there. This is their A3400, you guys. This thing is a bad mamma jamma, let me tell you. This thing right here, I really like how the look of it, really, it's what it comes down to. They have the other one, their traditional one. It's like a blue and white setup. And that one's, it works just as good, but it doesn't have that discreet we're looking for when it comes to this engine bay and this resto mod. So that's really one of my favorite things about this thing. But let me show you real quick how that little breaker slash bracket's gonna live. So you see this little slight little groove, little cut right here. That's what I was talking about, you guys. So really we can put it here or we can put it here. Just depending on what blocks you use as far as your terminals go. I'll show you the ones we're going to use here in a little bit. But we might end up having to live here just because I don't know how much room we're going to have on this side. But it really just slides down in there. Let me show you if I can do it here with one hand. Can you guys see it? It's really going to have to just kind of get pushed down in there. Let me see if I can. Oh, yeah, look at that. Like a glove, you guys. That thing fits so freaking good. Check that out right there. Like a freaking glove. Oh, yeah. You see that? It looks clean. Looks like it belongs there. We got our power coming in and our power going out. That's going to look freaking good. Let me throw this in the car real quick just so we can get it mounted up. At least set inside the car where it's going to live at. And we can play with our terminals. But I am going to have to order another one. Or maybe we can get it tomorrow. Let's see. Things are definitely not light, you guys. These things are a monster. But if you guys grab one of these for your build, I promise you guys will never buy another battery again for sure. At least not another brand. These things are badass. All right, I think we got her there for the most part. We do got to put our bracket that kind of holds it down. Battery hold down, I should say. But that'll give us a good idea. So what I like to do with this as well is I'll take this little string out of here, kind of work it out of here on this side like that, so you kind of don't see it, you know, kind of ugly. And I'll, instead of taking it completely off and then you'll get lost one day you actually need to pull the battery out, I kind of just leave the other side in place, tuck it in, and tuck it back there. You see that? Still there when you need it, because again you'll replace your battery at some point in its lifetime, but now it's out of the way, it's discreet, it still looks good, and we can still have our terminals here, no issues. Let me grab that breaker. So we also went ahead and purchased their terminals for basically 2 power cables or 2 ground cables really, because we wanted to make sure we had enough power and ground for the car. So we're going to end up doing is basically setting up a power coming in, power coming out, right, and then the ground. But then we'll also have another ground that goes to a terminal block on the inside of the car, and then another one will actually go to the block itself, the engine itself. I always like to ground the motor, ground the chassis, ground the body, you name it, grounds, baby. So that's kind of their little terminal block here. Let me see if I can open this thing up. Check that out, you guys. Nice billet machine. That looks sweet. So that'll live something like that, however you want to position it, depending on your room. May even like that. You can kind of manipulate that cable. Same over here. Something like that. Have that cable come over and around it, or you can have it come back this way, nice out of the way, and you can lace it around that side. However you guys want to do it. A bunch of different configurations that you can do with this thing. I am very bummed out about this freaking thing. Look at this. You can, oh, that sucks. I definitely don't want to drill that out or anything. I'm just gonna have to order another one. But this guy can just live right there, like so. You got access to your breaker right here, just like that.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting and they had to hire a new one. The following Thursday.
Guys, it is about a week later and we finally got that other breaker in. Finally came in. As you can see, now we can actually put a cable on each side. I don't know what happened. The other one was, again, manufactured defects, something like that. I don't know what happened, but we got that guy in. But I do want to show you guys a little bit of a different way we're going to be doing these battery cables today. We got everything kind of laid out. We even got the one that's going to go on the battery itself from excess power. But a lot of times those cables, they give you obviously a sleeve, I should say, for this guy here, right? To kind of take up the space, take up the extra room in case you're doing like a 2 gauge or even a 0 gauge wire. But we are running the 2-gauge wire, so it shouldn't be a problem for this guy. This should work just fine. But we're probably going to add a little bit of solder on this guy as well. But for this guy, again, these are like meant for like super high voltage power if you're running like a big sound system. So they give you that flexibility for like a 0-gauge wire. But we're not going to be running a 0-gauge. We're running a 2-gauge. So that's a lot smaller. So what I like to do is you kind of take these barrels. These are meant really to crimp 2 cables together. These are 2-gauge barrels. And what I'll do is I already did it here. I cut them in half. Basically took a little handsaw and just kind of cut them in half. And we'll basically run this on the cable. And this will kind of take up the room we need in there so it fits nice and snug. You can see how snug that's going to fit. And then we can still tighten it down, pinch it down there. But what we'll do is we'll put our cable in here and we'll put a little solder in there so we don't really have to even crimp these on. We're going to use these little soldering pellets right here. These are little soldering slugs, I should say. Basically what we'll do is we'll put our cable here. We'll drop a slug in there. We'll heat this thing up to melt the solder. And then we'll get a good solid connection in there just like that. We'll do probably the same thing with this guy here. But what we'll do is we'll probably just drop a little solder in there. And that way that cable stays nice and intact when that screw comes down and it actually pinches it in there. If you guys need a link to all this stuff here that we're using today, I'll try to put a link down in the description below. Also, if you guys are interested in this little battery bracket, I should say, for your breaker, if you want to do the same setup, shoot me an email. I can probably get this one of these to you guys for a small fee, nothing crazy. And then I can give you guys the link to the breaker itself that it actually fits. But let's get started. You guys, this one's a little bit trickier just because some of these cables are already landed in the car. So we got to do them over here by the car. Can't do them on the vise or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is put a little flux on the cable here. This is just a little flux just to make sure that solder has a decent bite there. And what I ended up doing is I put a little divot, just with the drill bit in that sleeve, really, just to kind of have that set screw somewhere to land and to actually hold that thing in place once we put it inside the terminal block. So we're going to slide this thing in here. Now obviously this one also is a little bit of a bigger sleeve than normal, which is fine because it's going to give us somewhere to put this pellet in. So we're going to take this pellet and just kind of jam it in there. And then we'll heat it up with the torch and try to get that guy to melt in there to create a nice solid contact in there. Trying to get that pellet down nice in there. So I think that should work right there. We're going to pull our wire flex back just a little bit just so we don't toast that thing. Just like that. And now we can heat this thing up and then hopefully this should melt, create a nice good solid bond in there. Man, that thing melted quick, you guys. Super fast. Oh, yeah. We can actually probably add another one. Look, it went right all over the cable there. Oh, yeah. We'll put another one in there. Oh yeah, look at that thing bubbling. Let that thing cool off, but that should create a good solid contact there once that thing cools off. And then we should be able to just insert it into our battery here, or battery block, and then snug it down with our set screw. But we got to do the rest of these. Now this one, you guys, this one's gonna be a little bit more tricky because you got this open slot kind of where that set screw sits at. So we're just gonna kind of put it there. Hopefully it doesn't move. We added a little bit of flux, not a lot like we did the last time, just because we had noticed these pellets got built-in flux. So depending on the pellets you guys use, and I also always recommend you use the smaller pellets because you can fit them in there a lot easier. If you got to use more, you can. But let's heat this guy up and see what happens to it. All right, you guys, so we got that one done, and we got it landed on our output here, and we also put a little zip tie here for an extra sense of security there. Of course, we got those built in there. We did put a little piece of Velcro there just to kind of take up some of that space there to make sure that thing stays nice and straight. Now we should be able to put our set screw in there and tighten it down. We should have a nice, good, solid contact. We'll tighten this guy down first, and then we could put it on our battery and actually set it in place and then route the input into this side. Just like that, nice and snug, you guys. That looks gonna look so good. So we can kind of put it in here like this to kind of have an idea where it's gonna land. But I'm gonna not push it all the way down, basically, so we can still mess with it, tighten it, and route the other cable with the other terminal block from here to that guy there, and that'll give us our input from the battery out to the rest of the car, and obviously act as a on and off switch also for the entire car. But we're gonna keep working. Obviously we put a little heat shrink, that guy there as well, put a little heat shrink there. You can see how that's just gonna go in there like so. Tighten that guy down and it's all set. We are gonna do one more coming out of here, probably route it somehow this way down to the block, so we actually create a nice ground from here to the block. We've got it almost buttoned up for the most part. We're definitely not going to hook it up quite yet, just because the car is definitely not ready entirely, but I wanted to give you guys a better look at this setup here. You can see we got that one that's actually going to be feeding the car already hooked up, ready to go. We talked about that, and then we went ahead and did the other little jumper. This guy here, see, we soldered it up there. Probably a little carried away with the solder, but it's all good. And then we did that side there with that little basically butt connector that we cut in half, and then we went ahead and drilled it out a little bit for our set screw. So that's all good to go. But this will just live like so, just like that. And there you have your set screw, and then this guy will come up. See if I can get the camera right there. We go. This guy will just come up and then insert into our terminal block that will live right there. So just like that, that should be really good. We went ahead and finished our ground as well for the motor. Routed our ground, comes down there, comes around. See if I can show you guys, get a better view. Right there, you guys, we got it grounded to the block right there. So the motor is grounded. We do got to add a couple more grounds. I'm not going to do it in this video though. We got to add one to the frame and to the body as well still. But you can tell, well, you probably can't tell, but actually also before you put a ground into a motor or block or any engine, especially with paint on it, always remove the paint. We remove the paint. Everything's cleaned up in there, clean threads as well. But that should be good for our power and ground setup, you guys. I'm excited. If you guys have any more questions about your ground setup, I do have another video that's all exclusive, all grounds only. Check it out. We also use a excess battery in that video. I'll put a link down in the description below so you guys can check that out. But man, I'm excited. I love these excess power batteries, man. These things are awesome, especially the black. This one's really nice. I'll put a link down in the description below. Very discreet for these builds. Kind of cleans it up, and then you don't have that white with the blue, kind of throws it off a little bit. Obviously, we still got a lot of work to do. We still got to button up the rest of the wiring on this vehicle, not to mention those grounds we talked about. A big old punch list, let me tell you. But do me a favor, guys, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and hit the bell for notification. You guys already know, stay wrenching.